I have to admit, I've only literally just watched Usyk Gassiev. Like, just watched it just now. It was between going out, getting drunk, and staying in and watching the boxing. It was close. It was a close decision. But I thought, you know what? Fuck that. We're going out. So I've only just watched it with Russian commentary. What a performance. What a performance. I thought this was a 50-50 fight. I think most people did, right? Most people thought this was a 50-50 fight between the two best cruiserweights in the world, which is true, number 1 and 2. And at the time, I think people were saying Gassiev was number 1. So between number 1 and number 2, Usyk was traveling to Russia, not having to travel too far. He's from Ukraine, so it wasn't as though, you know, he's an American going into enemy territory. But regardless, he was the away fighter. So I thought, okay, that little advantage could spur Gassiev on. You know, he's going to have the home crowd roaring every punch he throws. But Usyk just dominated. That's the only word I can think of when I finished watching this. And I literally just finished watching it like 10 minutes ago. And the first word that came to my mind was domination. And then I thought, wait a minute, what 50-50 fight between two belt holders has ever been that dominant? And I couldn't think of one. I really couldn't think of one. And I was casting my brain back to, I don't know, even as far as 20 years ago. And I can't think of a more dominant performance, not just between two belt holders, but between two guys that going in was a 50-50 fight. I gave Gassiev 2 rounds. I could have given him 1. I could have given him 1, which I think was round 4. I think I gave him, I can't remember what other round, but that's how dominant that performance was. It wasn't as explosive as we all wanted and hoped. You hoped for more action, but that was Gassiev, right? Usyk was the boxer coming in, and Gassiev was the one that really had to make it a dogfight, and he just wasn't able to do it. He got off some body shots. He landed a couple of big right hands, but Usyk took them well. And that was the question. What was Usyk going to do when Gassiev caught up to him and landed a couple of big of those, his famous body shots and famous big right hands? And Usyk was like, well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll those punches, and I'm going to come back with 7 or 8 or 9 of mine. It was unbelievable. I haven't checked the CompuPunch. I haven't checked the stats in terms of punches thrown, but I'd be shocked if there's ever been a cruiserweight that's thrown that many punches. Like, Usyk is as fit as you can get for a cruiserweight. Honestly, there've been, and I might be sort of waxing lyrical and having a bit of hyperbole here, but there's been a number of cruiserweights over the years that have been great fighters, like just phenomenal fighters. I mean, we're not going to mention them. You guys all know who they are. But I don't know if there's been a cruiserweight who's a better boxer than Usyk. Like, just a better boxer. I mean, he mixed that up yesterday with everything. I mean, and if you're Gassiev, you're almost thinking, okay, what's coming next? And maybe, look, sometimes Gassiev was a bit stationary. Gassiev foot movement wasn't great. But sometimes you've got to give the other guy credit. And Usyk made it look a bit awkward, because he was throwing punches from everywhere. Punches in bunches is the phrase. And that's the phrase sort of that came to mind watching the fight. Punches in bunches. And you don't get many cruiserweights doing that. Cruiserweights normally throw 2 or 3 punch combinations because they're just big guys. This guy was literally throwing 5 or 6 punch combinations on a regular. And that can be demoralizing. And it was for Gassiev. Abel Sanchez is in Gassiev's corner. And I expected a plan B, plan C. And I didn't see anything from Abel Sanchez, who I respect, but he likes to talk a bit. He thinks he's the new Freddie Roach's Abel Sanchez. And I expected to see a bit better performance out of a guy that is trained by Abel Sanchez, a guy that's in sort of the training camp of Gennady Golovkin. I expected to see a bit better, especially after round 6 or 7 when you realise this was running away from him. I expected him maybe to put the pedal to the metal, should I say, and do something a bit more, but he just couldn't. He really just couldn't. And it got me thinking. I think Usyk's what, 31? I think, could be wrong. 31. And he's been an amateur for a long time. And I don't know, I'm starting to question, like, a lot of decent amateurs turn pro very quickly. They don't stay on in the amateur game very long. They want to make as much money as possible, turn pro, and I don't know, I'm starting to think that isn't the best plan anymore. And a lot of people think Usyk is now a top 5 pound for pound, and that's difficult to argue with. It really is. When you look at who he's fought in his last 3 or 4 fights, and obviously has all the belts now, and you look at Usyk, you look at who else is in that top 5, and Golovkin is in the top 5, Loma's in that top 5, and obviously now Usyk is in there. People could probably chuck in, I don't know who else actually. Terence Crawford obviously would be in there. Maybe Mikey Garcia, but 3 of the top 5 have, I don't know, combined probably had over 1,000 amateur fights with not many losses at all. All medalist, World Championship, European, Olympics, and I'm starting to think maybe that's the best thing. That's the best way to go. These guys have proven that, and then because you're that good, you can almost, you don't have to wait around. You can jump very quickly. Golovkin didn't do it, but Loma and obviously Usyk have proven that if you're that good, you can take the leap. So I'm starting to think that a lot of people now think, okay, let me hang on in the amateurs for just a bit longer, because that yesterday was a boxing clinic, and I think you can only do that with, a very extensive amateur background, because it was fantastic. Looking forward for Usyk, I don't know what's next. There is talk about Bellew. They've gone back and forth over Twitter, which is good. It's something I wanted to see, because I was going to do a video about Bellew avoiding the winner. I think if Gassiev won, I don't think Bellew would have called him out. But Usyk, Bellew knows he's not going to get beaten up in terms of a hurt. He'll get outboxed, and I don't think Bellew minds that, because Bellew will think that he can land just one and win. But I'll do a separate video on that. Gassiev has spoken about going to heavyweight. Looking at him yesterday, I've always thought of him as being a very big cruiserweight, but I'm not sure he's that big. And the heavyweight is the land of the giants right now, so he might have to reassess that, because belts are going to become vacant. Usyk's not going to be able to defend all those belts. He will get stripped. He doesn't want to pay the sanctioning fees for all of those as well. So I think Gassiev might stay around a bit longer in the cruiserweight division, just to maybe get 1 or 2 of those belts. He's still young. I think he's only 24, 25 with Gassiev, so he's got time. But Usyk is something special. What do you guys think about that top 5 pound for pound ranking? I know a lot of people don't like pound for pound shit, but surely he deserves to be there. You can't hold all the belts in your division and not be there. I think he is, but again, marvelous performance. It wasn't the explosive fight I wanted it to be, but it was boxer versus puncher, and as always in these kind of boxer versus puncher things, the boxer won. The boxer prevailed. It's just a case of what next for him now, and I think and I hope it is Tony Bellew. But guys, let me know what you think. Leave your comments below. Peace.